Good evening, everyone, and welcome to AOH Primetime. Tonight, a very special show. We're dedicating the entire program to our guests here for what's going to be a really exciting conversation about downtown Akron. And certainly, we are excited when things are happening in our community, and we want to put the spotlight on really great things happening for our community. And our next guests, we're going to have a great conversation. We have Bill Reishtein and Tony Troppe here on set. Thank you for taking the time to come in.
Our pleasure.
And welcome to the AES building. What a beautiful building this is for us to be operating in. We love it here.
Gorgeous building.
Yeah.
This building has a lot to do with why we're here, actually.
Oh, yeah. And the history of the B.F. Goodrich Company and all of the redevelopment of all of these old buildings, which you know a lot about.
The AES building.
Yes, certainly. But let's start with a little bit of your story in terms of growing up in Akron, growing up in West Akron, as you said, you were telling me.
Yeah.
You're Akron through and through, and you left for a little bit, and now you're back.
I'm an Akron boy, yeah. I'm glad to be able to say that. I grew up, went to King's School. Went to Litchfield, went to Firestone, went to OU. Then I left Akron, went to Chicago, went to Northwestern University. And then I stayed out there. I was gone for a while. I lived in Chicago, worked at Publicis, a big-time marketing agency, global. And then I went to Silicon Valley and had some clients like Intel and HP. I went to San Francisco. I went to LA. So I spent a lot of time outside of Akron. And then what was really during COVID. And I was in LA because that's where I spent most of my time during COVID. And I was out one night and I met a guy by the name of David Mickey Evans. He made a movie a long time ago called The Sandlot. And everybody loves that movie, right? So I started talking to him and I said, "What's your next project?" He goes, "Well, I'm going to Akron, Ohio and making a movie about the Soapbox Derby." He goes, "Have you heard of that?" I go, "Yeah. I've actually heard of Akron, Ohio because I grew up there." And we talked for a while. We became friends. And it turns out I ended up leaving L.A., and about 2 years ago came back to Akron. And I started working with him on the pre-production of that movie. It's still in the works. It takes a long time to make a major motion picture. When I got back, I was here for a while. I really only was going to stay for about a month, and then a month became 2. I started remembering what I liked about this place. I mean, it's the Cuyahoga Falls, the downtown Akron, the beautiful Summit County. LA is one of my favorite places. And then I ran into this guy. You may have met Tony. Mm-hmm. And I really didn't know what was going on. I was really listening to Chrissy's song, which was, My City Was Gone. And I realized when I met Tony that he was actually almost single-handedly building back the revitalization of Akron. So I'll let you ask Tony about that one because that's kind of how we all that's together.
He's given you a lot of credit. You've single-handedly rebuilt Akron, and I appreciate, certainly, that's pretty true. That's not much of a stretch here. But I will say, I'm glad you're here for so many reasons, but every conversation you and I have ever had has been in one of your establishments, Blue Jazz, or at the wine bar that is now the Bourbon, or Lock 15, any of these places. And I've always enjoyed just chatting and passing about all the things you're doing. And so bring us up to speed. You guys meet and you start this Back to Akron and Life on the Summit campaign. How did this all come together?
Well, really, I look at it like we're placemakers, and we're really all excited about the energy of the places that you just named a few of those gathering spots, these community gathering spots, these mixed-use, adaptive reuse, repurposing of historic buildings. This is where that energy is occurring. And these places are built for members of the knowledge workers, the creative class, the positive energy that flows from the creative arts in these historic buildings. That's what he's describing. That's where we're at really right here with this AES building. Taking an old building that was slated for a landfill and figuring out how to repurpose it and utilizing the values that are already there. Sure. The firm foundations, the strong columns, the strength of the structural steel, the masonry buildings, the solid roof systems. You bring in new mechanicals, new electric, new uses, new users. Adaptive reuse is about attracting knowledge workers. And that's really how Bill and I hit it off, is because he's doing all of these creative brand developments for international companies. And he's looking at the opportunities here in Akron as low-hanging fruit that he can come in and help pull together and then take to market. The markets on the coasts, New York, Chicago, LA, all of these great bi-coastal, tri-coastal locations that are really becoming very expensive to live at. They're costing in so many ways with congestion, climate, traffic, all types of strangulating type of environments that take more to live there than less. So Bill and I are working on this outreach now that takes the messaging of the great place that we live in and all of the resources of this place and the cost of entry and the cost of sustaining and sending that messages out to targeted audiences that he's been dealing with. So I like the idea that we're telling our story from our historic roots. We're looking at our assets here, and we're figuring out ways to attract a whole new group of knowledge workers.
I got a fun story for you. And you probably don't even remember because it was probably 30 years ago when I was starting the video production business, and I was probably 18 or 19 years old, and the video production business just launching, and we had hopes and dreams, and me and a couple of high school buddies, you know how this kind of thing goes. And you actually showed us a building, and I could not get anybody to return a phone call. You know, here's an 18-year-old kid saying, hey, I want to set up a video studio. And you took the time. And we walked through, I remember walking through a building that had holes in the floor. And I thought, okay, this is not something we could do. But you had the vision and I could see it. And the point to that
Did
story
you have a white beard then?
No.
It was before white beard? Okay.
But the point to the story is you had really embraced the creative community, and you could see what the creatives could see in a space and all of that. And that probably explains how you have hit it off, certainly with your work in the creative field and working at an ad agency and working in the creative industry. You understand the creatives.
Yeah, well, we started, what we have now is called Life on the Summit. Mm-hmm. And we looked at Akron, and I came back and said, look, I've been rebranding things my whole life. And there's a lot of, PR out there that isn't giving Akron what it's really due. The rubber capital of the world, that's great. So we looked at it and we said, well, what is it? It's life on the summit. Akron's the highest point in Summit County. Summit County around Akron is absolutely beautiful. I mean, you've got all the parks, you've got all the rivers, the nature, all the great places to live. So you have Akron as we call it the economic epicenter of life on the summit. So that became the new brand. We have a website. We're doing digital ads, reaching all the places Tony was talking about. And we're refreshing what people believe and what they know about it. That's number one. But the best part is what these guys are doing downtown. The developers, the builders, the dreamers. Now, I know there's others now. There's Tony. There's this building, the Skipper Group. There's Gino Fasciano, who's got 3 or 4 buildings. He's calling that the epicenter. There's the Akron Beacon Journal building, which Pride One and Tony are reimagining and putting back together. That's right across the street. And we started looking at all the things that are happening downtown. And you asked about back to Akron. So Life on the Summit has been here for about a year, and we've been inviting people to come and see Life on the Summit. But what Tony and I realized one night, we were over at the jazz club going, what would be like the best thing that could happen in downtown Akron right now? Well, we know the folks at Buckingham, the law firm. They were deciding, are they going to stay out in Fairlawn or are they going to come back down to downtown Akron? So we said, I wonder with our creativity and our energy, if we can have any voice, any sort of like push, shove anyway. So we came up with this concept of Back to Akron. And we started putting out videos and content about all the entertainment, all the music, all the restaurants, everything happening downtown, all the opportunity. We started getting that out there. We put it out in social media. We put it on LinkedIn, got a lot of views. And we think that maybe the folks at Buckingham started like thinking about that and going, downtown Akron wouldn't be a bad place. So what's really funny about that story, not funny, but right above where we are now is where they're going to be. We're on the 4th floor of the AES building. Akron has great proximity, right? The floor up is going to be the Buckingham Law Firm. And they're going to come down with 90 or 100 lawyers, all the energy, all the staff, all the restaurants will be filled up. So we think that was a big move. And we got the Back to Akron started up, and we're going to continue that. Who's next? Who's coming next? Who else is happening? So there's a lot of people have already made that decision. Buckingham's great, but there's a lot more coming, and I think we've heard about it. I don't think it's official yet, but a lot's going to be happening right within a mile of this building right now.
Uh, I have another 50 or 100 questions, and this is incredible what you guys are doing and what's happening in Akron. We're going to take a quick break. We are having a great time here talking with Bill Reishtein and Tony Troppe, and we are talking back to Akron and life on the summit and all of the great things happening here in downtown Akron. Stay with us. There's a lot more to come. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to AOH Primetime, continuing our discussion with Bill Reishtein and Tony Troppe as we talk about back to Akron, life on the summit, and all kinds of great ideas to bring excitement to downtown Akron. And certainly we're here in the epicenter of it here in our studios in downtown Akron, and this is exactly where we want to be as we build WAOH local television. And we're thrilled to have great guests. Thank you guys so much for bringing the energy and for coming down and sharing it with us here on this program. And a couple of fun questions come to mind as we were talking. One of them is, I have to know, were there ever moments in rehabbing these old buildings where things were not going well? And you just got to think of the risk factor. Anybody, you have the vision, of course, you walk into something and say, this is, some of these buildings, like the developments down in between where the Akron History Center is, some of those buildings were dangerously close to where they could not be rehabbed. And maybe even the Akron Beacon Journal building had water damage or the pipes burst just from being vacant for so long. And how do you work through this? How do you convince people to get behind these projects when sometimes the building could just be almost, it can't be saved?
Well, I ask myself that frequently. Yes, the answer is yes. The question really is, how do you do it, or why do you do it?
Yes.
I mean, they act together very tightly. And the idea really is that these adaptive reuse opportunities really make economic sense. They have firm foundations, they have structural integrity, and they have the opportunity to accommodate new users quickly and smartly, and leveraged with the opportunities that the Department of the Interior and the State Historic Preservation Offices also share as tools for economic development. You partner with the state and the feds to do a good job to build your city of the future. They recognize the value of that infrastructure in place, and they provide potential gap fillers to help get it done and make sense economically. So it is a challenge. It is risky, but then there's a net there. So you're doing a high wire act, but you got a net. So do good stunts. And the idea really is that you can't build old new. There's a beauty and an integrity and an elegance and a grace in these historic buildings that are inviting. They attract new creative energies. And that's what we're really doing. We're attracting companies from around the world. We're putting Akron on a new lampstand that demonstrates it's a city of the future because it's a city internacional. And it's appealing to that world audience.
Is it possible, too, to really get behind downtown Akron redevelopment and all these old buildings and the charm, and this is where people want to live and work and play and all of that, without necessarily dissing our friends in the suburbs? Fairlawn's a beautiful community, Green, Hudson, all this beautiful communities. But maybe without a dig on Embassy Parkway, let's say, that the walkability factor isn't there, that maybe the way that Montrose and some of those kinds of suburbs were built, that they didn't think about people connecting without a car to be able to walk and no green space and all that, without really dissing those areas. Downtown Akron's better.
Because I know I have a lot of friends out in those areas.
Sure.
And one of the things about where we live, it's kind of borderless. So you can be there, you can come here, you can be here, go there, you can live in one of the other places. It's great out there. We love it out there. Everybody does. But it all fits together. It's so close. You're in L.A., you get on the I-10, it could be all day just getting the other side of town. Here, really proximity is one of the great things. And you told me that one of the reasons you can get things happening here, you can get in your car and you can be 10 minutes away doing a deal. And so beautiful things about Bath and Fairlawn and Green, love it there. You know Rocco, the mayor, quite well. And it's great there and it's great here. And a lot of people want to live in one place and work in the other. and vice versa. You hop in your car and you're there. So that's life on the summit. They're not like they're not different. They're all one. You just get to choose whether you want to work in one, live in the other, and go back and forth. It's 7 minutes away.
You built a career in Chicago, and then you did work in LA, and you came back, and you're here to stay. And you can speak to this probably better than anybody. Certainly, how not just cost of living here, but quality of life and all that you can do here on the same resources. You're here to stay.
Yeah. In fact, I'm actually living in one of Tony's buildings, the temple.
You brought your landlord.
Landlord. Okay. And of course, I went to the synagogue there when I was growing up. So he brought me back in there like 40 years later, and I hadn't been in that building for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was quite a moment. But the thing that's funny about hanging around with Tony for a while, so he has these buildings, he's got these architects, these grand visions, the financing, the state, the city, all the tax. He's putting all those things together. If you're in a car with him at like 11 o'clock at night or whatever, or 10 o'clock in the morning, if there's a pipe busted in any of those buildings, he's down there with a wrench. So it's just kind of like, I guess there's not a lot of overhead and structure in Akron. We're all just kind of hanging out and doing it ourselves.
In your network of everybody that you've worked with or people that you stay in touch with or still are working with on projects, do you find it difficult to be in Akron and engage with the rest of the world? Or does anybody ever say, what are you doing in Akron? Why don't you come back here to LA? What are you doing in Akron? Why don't you come back to Chicago? There's no hindrance to working with the rest of your network and the rest of the world being here in Akron.
Well, no, because we're all remote and everybody's remote now. People ask that question at first. They say, well, you're still there? I thought you were going to be there for a month. I go, yeah, I'm still here. I have a place I like. I like the people. I like the general area. I'm close to everything. We have a lot of good sports teams. The football team isn't necessarily one of them right now, but that I've been a Browns fan for a long time, so that's going to change, we think. We've got the Rubber Ducks. So, people live wherever they want to now, and people wonder about it. It looks weird on LinkedIn to say Akron, versus LA or whatever, but I'm kind of proud of that, and people begin to see it. I've had visitors come. They go, yeah, this is nice here. The West Akron is beautiful. It's a little cold there right now, but in the fall, up and down the streets, the leaves turning color, one of my favorite times. And it's a simple, easy lifestyle. I've been other places. I like the other places. Like I said, with Fairlawn and Akron, I love those places, but I also love it here, so why not be here and help to – it's kind of a career thing with me also. I'm kind of at a point where I kind of – what do I want to do with my next brand? I said, why don't I just come back and make this, my next brand?
That would tie us into really explain the Back to Akron, the campaign. I know there's video that we're going to roll here and would play a lot of the video that's beautiful, but really delve into how do you brand all of this, and how do you put that together, and Life on the Summit and all of that. Explain how you. Take us through it almost like you do for a client. You do the pitch and the treatment of this, and here's our concept, and take us through it.
Well, Life on the Summit it's about livability. It's about being close to nature. It's about being close to the city. But it's also about movement. I mean, people have a perception. A lot of times in any product, people have a perception of where it was, and it may have moved far beyond that, and they don't know it. So my job as a brander is to try to have the reality kind of have the perception catch up with the reality. So when I come back to Akron and Summit County, there's a lot of great things here. People laugh because when I get on an airplane and I go back to Chicago, I carry Zele's corn with me. And I go through security, and they say, don't they have corn where you're going? I go, yeah, they have it, but it tastes very different. So I bring it on the plane with me. They go through. That's a weird thing to have on the plane.
Of all the illegal contraband you could have,
yeah,
you have this corn from
a dozen ears, but. So that's really, it's about capturing those moments. Those are things that people remember, and those are the things people love. And so that's the Life on the Summit, a sort of overarching umbrella. And if you look on the website, because we're sending that to people all over the world, it's a beautifully livable place. We talked to Mayor Walters over the Cuyahoga River, and the water's rushing behind us, and talking about rafting and whitewater and all that sort of thing. And then you talk about downtown, where there's now jazz, there's now blues, there's now great food. These are things which necessarily weren't here that long ago. So that's kind of the Life on the Summit part of it. The Back to Akron is really there's about a handful of people who have decided, developers, builders, dreamers, that they're going to take it on themselves and make something happen. Like Gino, who I met with not too long ago, he's got the old First Energy building. It's empty now. It's a beautiful building. He says, you know what? I could probably be on vacation right now, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to bring people back. So Life on the Summit is about people. We want to bring young families, we want entrepreneurs, new businesses to go, you know, this is a great place to set up shop and come on back and you'll really like it. So our job, I see my job is, you've got the infrastructure, you've got builders, you've got your people in media like you're trying to do. My job is to try to figure out a way to remind people, let them know it's here, and come back and give it a shot. And I call myself a boomerang. There's a lot of boomerangers, and that's one part. The other part is the people who haven't, really been here before, but they're looking for, you're out in Silicon Valley, and you're a young couple, and you just spent some time, looking at some beautiful homes, and they tell you need $450,000 for the down payment, and then you go, we send them an ad. That's kind of our media strategy, right? At that moment, these days you can target really, really, really precision. We send them an ad and show them a house here, which is about the same, but they can afford it. And really, that's part of the strategy.
Their $450,000 down payment might buy a whole house here in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, or a really nice house.
We are not going to talk about the trend of a lot of people have moved back from Florida. All the retirees, and they did that, and then they got into the...
Don't talk about that this week.
Well, we're not talking about that this week. I was going to say now this week, some of them, some I check on my aunt, my parents, everybody's, that they're all back permanently. They say we're staying in Ohio, which is wonderful. We won't talk about that now with all that's going on. Another question I would have, what are the biggest obstacles, the biggest roadblocks to everything you want to do here? What are the real... What's the pushback or that, this isn't, yeah. That kind of, what are the challenges?
Yeah.
Lining up all the proper funding. That really is the challenge up front, because you're still in the process of identifying the end users, the people who are going to come and use it. But you're laying stock in a process that takes shells and turns them into white boxes that can then attract the ready movers that are in the marketplace. It's at that point when you're getting it teed up that it's now, okay, we can use this and we can see ourselves in there in 60, 90, 120 days. So there's an upfront expenditure that needs to go in to get these buildings properly conditioned. People come and find it. They find their way. If you build it, they'll come.
Sure.
It's true. It's just putting it in motion and getting the process commenced. That's the challenge, is overcoming the initial inertia.
I saw the renderings of the Akron Beacon Journal building and some of the ideas. And how close is that to fruition, or what are the challenges there? In apartments, a place where and businesses, is it mixed use where you could live there and maybe have your business there too?
That's true. And it's a 230,000 square foot beautiful structure that was built forever. And it had been well maintained. And it has a lot of excellent infrastructure that can lend itself readily to be accommodating 120 new dwellings. And this is for workforce housing. This is affordable housing. This is a place that people who are working downtown can afford to live there, who are providing the goods and the services and all of the day-to-day making it happen. Working at the hospitals, working at the universities. These folks are looking for affordable places downtown, and that's what this building will serve. It'll have a restaurant, it'll have a workout facility, it'll have some room for some other nonprofits that are there, some workspace, underground parking in the building.
That's a nice bonus.
Rooftop access. It's a 80,000 square foot footprint. So there's a lot of roof there to work with. Sustainable green, solar, rooftop gardens, all kinds of interesting things that are conducive to a wellness downtown.
We have 5,000 people living downtown, 10,000. What are the numbers right now? I think there's 10,000 residents and what do we say? Downtown Akron is what defined sort of as the Downtown Akron Partnership has some pretty well-defined boundaries as to what downtown Akron is.
I think we're closing to 5,000 units now, and the goal is to get to 10 within the next 3 to 5 years.
Those are the numbers I thought. And that's another challenge, and is getting people down here. But I watched them redevelop the Goodrich and redevelop all that, and they're sold out. there's demand.
That's true, and there's constant influx of new knowledge workers that are coming through the universities and the hospitals and the new companies that are expanding and growing, like GPD. I mean, we'll talk about that success.
Oh, sure.
These are the kind of stories that are indicative of a migration, a new migration that is really looking for quality of life and affordability. And these urban environments like downtown Akron and other places in these legacy cities across the Great Lakes, they represent cities of the future because they have water. And that is a big deal, and it's going to be a bigger deal in the coming generation.
So the Quaker Square development, as a kid, I can remember that the Quaker the cookies. They had the oatmeal cookies there. Yeah. The whole place smelled like the oatmeal cookies. They had a restaurant there that was very similar to Spaghetti Warehouse, of course, right along the windows where you could watch the trains go by. And then on the second floor above that restaurant, they had the model trains going around. I feel like you had to climb up a ladder or something that would not be approved now. Or do I have this right? This memory as a kid going up to look at the trains.
Think about Quaker.
Can they bring the trains back?
They have a train right out front now, but an old one. But here's the thing about Quaker. This is when you asked the question about obstacles. Mm-hmm. My answer would have been about a lack of belief at the beginning. So I remember you told me the story when Tony was going to build the Boutique Hotel downtown. He was told by everybody, all the movers and shakers in the Akron area, a hotel like that, a boutique hotel, will not work downtown, and certainly not at Market and Main. So there's a belief lag, and somebody has to believe it. And you see how this person talks. You've got to talk to a lot of people with a lot of passion to get them to believe you. But then you make it happen, and people believe it. Quaker's the same way. Quaker's an old building. It's obviously an old oats warehouse. It's been dormant for a long time. So a few investors in town said, you know what? It's not really ready right now. It's going to be a few years. And it's going to cost a lot of money to get it there. But they go, you know what? We're doing it. And a lot of it, the people I've talked to who are doing that, they do it for business reasons, but they could also build a storage facility somewhere. They do it because they grew up or their parents were there, and they go, you know what? We can bring that back. And I think the guys who are running that operation now, and they're not ready to. They didn't do it because that's the only place to invest in right now. They did it because it was a beautiful building. It still is. There's a heart to it. There's entertainment. There's fun. It's an enchanting place. They said, we're going to ride it out. We're going to put our money into it. We're going to be the believers, and then let all the action and the force follow the belief. So I think that's what we're seeing now when we talk about developers and builders. The guys at Buckingham somebody there had to believe, you know what? That's the place we want to be, even though we didn't want to be here 10 or 20 years ago. So I think there's a sense of people taking a look at a vision, and people tend to be, stuck a little bit. In this part of the country, in the Midwest, more so than in other parts, I'll say that. But when you get a few people who are saying, you know what, we can make it happen, look at the Rubber Ducks. They just, there's new ownership there, a minor league baseball team right downtown. What fun that is. People love it. Everybody loves going down there. But people told them that wouldn't work either. So somebody says, you know what, it's going to work. We're going to make it. And then it takes because you got a lot of things have to happen, raising the money and all the things. The people running the mayor right now, he's a believer. People at Greater Akron Chamber and the convention, they're all going, these are the guys they brought together, and the people. And Eileen with Eileen Shapiro with the Summit County. These people say, you know what, we're sticking to our guns. We're going to make it happen. And then people suddenly go, okay, all right, let's give it a shot. And it takes it's kind of a long lead for the belief to become reality, because you've got to go through a lot of obstacles to get there.
This has been a great conversation, and we need to take a quick break. This is a lot of fun here, talking with Bill Reishtein and Tony Troppe, talking about all that's happening here in downtown Akron, and excitement and development, redevelopment, and bringing people downtown, people and businesses, certainly. And we're going to wrap up with our discussion here right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to AOH Primetime as we wrap up our discussion with Bill Reishtein and Tony Troppe. This has been great. Thank you for taking the time to come in and share with our audience just what you guys are up to and all the excitement that you guys are very passionate about Akron, which certainly is inspiring and fun to talk about. As I want to build a TV station to serve Akron, we need viewers.
Love what you do.
And this is exactly the kind of thing that I want to be doing, is talking about good things happening. And in order for all of this to happen, everything you guys want to do, everything that we all want to do to build Akron back, and all of the things we've been talking about, is we need that the economic development, and we need we always remember we were talking about a Don Plusquellic traveling the world and selling Akron, and I know. That I remember that you were just saying that bore some fruit, as you said. That was a worthwhile endeavor.
You have to be out doing deep sea fishing. You've got to go for the long ball. You got to go for the fences, and it's a patient process that really requires consistent and regular investment.
Sure.
And our friend Don, he was earnest about telling the story around the world.
Sure.
You need champions to go out and tell stories, and you have to have success stories by which to share. And I think that's the messaging behind Life on the Summit and Back to Akron. We're going out and we're telling stories about folks who've made smart, good decisions based on affordability, based on quality of life, and all types of positive energy that exists in a place that you can have access to decision makers so that you can get things done. We want to create an environment of facilitation.
Well, there's a great deal of that going on now. I mean, you got the whole technology, the polymers, the tech cluster. There's a lot of great people in Akron that are out there meeting every day. They're all traveling around the world, and they're going to Silicon Valley, and they're working to bring people here. That part is in place. We believe there's a lot of amazing work going on. One story that we're just beginning to think about is the influence of technology in Ohio and Akron. There's a lot of companies, Google, Meta, they're building data centers. But now that Akron is an official tech and innovation hub, so we start to put together the growing industries like in technology with the other side of it, which really is our focus, which is the livability and getting the message out. You put all that together, and we think both are really important. So, kudos to the people who get up every morning and are out there drive on airplanes every day, meeting people to bring companies back here. And they're also looking for industrial companies, steady jobs for workers who are going to the factories. Akron and Summit County are about really getting inside and making things. We still have the heart of making things in this town. That's one of the character builders. I think that's what, when LeBron says, I'm a kid from Akron, people make things here, they invent things. So there's a lot of great people out there doing all that. That's really their role. Our role, we see it as is underlying the communication of it and reminding people that, you come here, there's going to be jobs here. There's going to be technology and lots of progress, but you're also going to really love living here. So that's really that we see that as a kind of a great combination.
When this interview is on social media, we'll have links to the website, different things, different places to find you online. To where can people go? Certainly to find more about the campaign and all that you're doing. We'll have that link in there. Thank you for taking the time to come in and share what you're up to, and for all you've done for Akron and keeping the old buildings going, and especially supporting the music scene and those in the creative field. They're just fantastic.
Speaking of the music scene, I know you have some questions about that.
Absolutely, yeah. We had Eric Vaughn on not too long ago talking about the heart of rock and roll and all of that.
Well, that's the other thing. So, it's all about, if you want to bring young people, it's about energy, it's about creativity, it's about music and entertainment. So the other project that we're involved in is called The Heart of Rock and Roll. Mm-hmm. It's a music documentary. So much amazing music came out of this area. And we're making a documentary that's about Joe Walsh and Chrissie Hynde and the James Gang and Black Keys and up in Cleveland, Machine Gun Kelly, all the amazing music that was born here. It's a really interesting story. And we're also talking about what's next. So one part of our documentary, and we're also doing a TV series and a podcast about the future of rock and roll from this area. And you may have heard our friends in Youngstown. There's a band called the Vindies and Jackie Popovic. Mm-hmm. So we're also working with them because we see that band as being sort of the next big act coming out of Akron, Summit County in Ohio. So music is not to be denied. Ohio has the right to claim some of the best music ever in this country. And also up in Cleveland, the Agora, which we're working with some of the creators of the Agora, some of their relatives. Some of the best bands in the world had to come through Akron and Cleveland. David Bowie, Rush, Bruce Springsteen, they started here. So we have a right to, we call ourselves the heart of rock and roll. And Ohio is known as the birthplace of rock and roll because Alan Freed, who coined the term rock and roll, worked at a station. I'm going to do a little quiz. What radio station did he work first? What was his first radio station?
WAKR here in Akron.
Right.
Yeah.
WAKR was where Alan Freed started.
I love that story.
Rock and roll.
I love that story.
And so Akron is really, that was over by the zoo. The studio is by the zoo where it is now. So where the zoo is now is where rock and roll started. What a coincidence. So
I love it.
But that's just part of the overall, I guess, called the Gestalt, the vibe. It all kind of works together: energy, excitement, fun, and that's why we love it. And that's another story we're going to tell, just to remind people that a lot of great things and creativity happen here as well.
Like WAOH television, for
Exactly,
example.
that's
Let's get some local TV going here. As soon as, when talking to Tom, our mutual friend, I said, we're doing this interview show. We got to have great guests. And he immediately said, I got two for you.
Oh,
and
thanks, Tom.
I'm thrilled that he connected us, and I'm thrilled you guys could take all the time to come in here. And I hope it's all right with you. I gave you the whole hour.
Well, we're lucky because the heat works.
Oh, yeah. It's, we don't even say. I love it. I love all you're doing. Come back. We'll have you on again.
Thank you.
We'll make it a regular series.
All right,
come up here.
We'll be here.
There you go. We'll have red Solo cups and water and pop and snacks all night.
Let's have a party.
That's right. And we'll have a studio audience. If they hear that, they'll all come in and want to be here, a part of it. We are thrilled that you are a part of the WAOH audience, and certainly glad to be bringing you great stories of all of the good news happening in our community. And certainly, if you stay tuned to WAOH and you watch our shows, you're going to see and you're going to hear about all of the great things happening right here in my hometown, Akron, Ohio. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.